I want to make a case for not perceiving discipline as something admirable in terms of being a strategy for achieving your goals. That discipline is better perceived as a tool to build a certain character, a character required for the movement towards those goals to happen naturally and without having to feel like you're continuously doing things you don't want to do. The whole point of developing yourself, if that's your thing, I feel is to have a more enjoyable life, a creative and productive life. And I think it's misguided to think that discipline is supposed to be the mechanism through which that happens. It's much better to think of the journey of becoming the type of person that naturally does the things that are required for good things to happen. You can use discipline as a tool to shape that journey, to build the character that you desire to embody, but it shouldn't be like the goal is not to live from discipline. The goal is to use discipline in very precise and limited time-wise, like don't use it all the time, for God's sake, but limited periods of time where you work on specific parts of your character. You use discipline as a way of shaping yourself, but not as a desired long-term way of living. I think we've been misled slightly by society and by perhaps school to think that discipline is desirable as a way of living. It's just not. And I don't think it's all that productive either. Like, discipline takes a lot of effort. And I think it's much better if we focus that effort on shaping the internals, like the layers underneath that's gonna end up being the constitution of who you naturally are. So that if your thing is that you want to wake up in the morning and go straight to work, that movement from waking up, going into work, doesn't require effort. That part is not a part of your day that requires discipline. It happens naturally. But discipline was applied in order to become that type of person. You get to decide what character you want to embody in this life. I mean, most of us, we didn't decide when we were growing up, right? Like, most of us don't become aware of the mechanisms of the subconscious and our personality and behavioral patterns and all that stuff. We don't become aware until later in life. Increasingly, younger people get there much faster than what we used to. But we get to decide once we do become aware. But we also face the very real challenge of patterns being very stubborn. And so the effort we do spend, the effort we invest in discipline, is best invested in reshaping the character, reshaping the personality, the behavioral patterns into what we choose to be desirable, like what kind of life we want to live. And we do get to make that choice, but we have to be very specific. Because we can only change so much, and we can only apply discipline with, like, you can't do it all the time. And the people you see online, like let's take someone like what's his name? The guy with the ultra running. Doesn't matter what his name is. Maybe I'll just put it on the screen. He's not disciplined when he goes for a long run. Like, that's just who he is now. But other people will look at him and think, oh, he's super disciplined. He's not. It's just who he is. And it's an error to think of other people doing what they just do as being disciplined, because it makes us feel like we have to be able to override our own, how do you say, constitution and internal mechanisms all the time. And it never works for anyone. So it's an illusion, it's a mistake, and it's much better to think of discipline as a very deliberate tool of building certain aspects of your character. And that's not done by, I mean, in part you can do that while moving towards your goals, but if you're building a character that will get you to a certain outcome, the discipline shouldn't be spent on the steps required to move towards that outcome. It should be spent on the steps required to build the character that will naturally take those steps towards the outcome. Like, it's not really super complicated, but it's just it's a different way of thinking. I also can't tell you exactly what that looks. It depends on who you are and where you want to go. But I'm sure you can figure it out, or you can give me a call and we'll talk about it. Okay, I will end here for today. And right now I'm employing the discipline of trying to make my YouTube videos shorter and more to the point, but without having a script. One day I will be great at it.